I don't know. I think it was we use OpenStreetMap in a bunch of different ways that we're always looking for ways to expand that and change or just add to what we're doing. Um, but yeah, I'll try and briefly go through what we're doing and kind of how we got here. But I was an OpenStreetMap editor before coming to Kendall, and I talked about it enough that I kind of got the rest of the department on board. But base maps was really where everything started. We are, we're a county in the United States, so we are primarily an Esri organization. So in the early days, we were pulling our own feature layers into our maps, pretty much just for labels and reference data. And then I think it was 2019 or 2020, Esri put out vector tiles of OpenStreetMap data. So we went to adopt that because it performed better and we could write our own style JSONs for it. Because everyone in the county wants just labels on top of imagery. So vector tiles are great for that. And we added those to all our public maps. And that was kind of the first time we were officially using OpenStreetMap data in some of the stuff we were putting out publicly. But what happened after that was, we would get feedback saying, oh, this road is misspelled, or this feature should or shouldn't be here. And so the solution to those problems was to edit OpenStreetMap. And that's where it first became an official activity that our department did. And we make sure that all the staff members have OpenStreetMap accounts. Our interns, we train people on common tagging stuff, how to use the editors, and so we're all in now. I think the department itself has an account just in case we need that extra authoritative username on an edit, but mostly we just do it ourselves. But anyway, as we were fixing these issues in the reference data, we quickly found, as we make OpenStreetMap better, we directly benefit, but then anyone else who's going to use that is also going to benefit. So we developed the mindset of, if we're going to use the data, let's just make it awesome. Let's go in there and not wait for feedback about typos, but proactively go through and just kind of take ownership of Kendall County on OpenStreetMap and do whatever we can to make that data really high quality. So, and we like to think of it like stewardship, not gatekeeping. We welcome any local mappers who want to get involved in our area. But if you do edit in Kendall, I'll probably see your edit at some point, just because we just like to keep an eye out for vandalism or fictional edits, which we've had a little bit. Not too often, but now and then there's a 20-story hotel in a farm field, or Pokemon Go stuff. But so we just want to make sure that all the data, all the edits are really good quality, that they follow kind of the local and national conventions. So that's where we're at with OpenStreetMap. But that mindset kind of led us into doing a data inventory, where we just looked at all of our data, especially stuff in our open data catalog. I would just ask a series of questions, but is it public? And if it is it appropriate for OpenStreetMap? Some of our data, sorry, hang on. We homeschool. I have 3 boys. It's a little noisy. So we have a lot of layers that don't make sense to add to OpenStreetMap. We have a lot that do. So of those, is there any reason to keep an internal copy? Do we actually need a Kendall specific layer of railroad center lines or hydro features? And for a lot of those things, no, there was no reason to keep it. So we would just make sure, is the stuff in our layer and the stuff in OpenStreetMap, is OpenStreetMap as good or better? And as soon as we know that OpenStreetMap exceeds what we had, we just drop those layers. So we got rid of a bunch of stuff that we were maintaining internally. And we're still in the process of adding to the map from some of our old things. There are some layers that we do have to keep on the county side, but would still make sense in OpenStreetMap, like address points. So we're just trying to formalize a regular periodic conflation process to make sure that new addresses we're adding will get onto OpenStreetMap, but have the correct tagging and make sure nobody else beat us to it and not duplicate stuff. So the end of the day, what we got out of that was our open data catalog that people can access through our portal. It's smaller and it's more specific to the features that are actually authoritative for the county, instead of just basic reference data that there's no reason you should come to us for that. And we put a little notice that if you're looking for things like building footprints, roads, natural features, go to OpenStreetMap, go to these pages of the wiki to find guidance on how to download these things and use them. So we definitely benefit from that, and moving our data to OpenStreetMap it just makes the data in our area richer over there. So some specific things we're doing now. That's kind of the history. We quickly got a little tired of the vector tile service from Esri. We wanted a little more control. We wanted to bring features directly into other things like QGIS. So we use Awesome to Postgres to just pull in everything with all of its tags just into a one giant table, and we do some other stuff. So we go back to base maps. We're using OpenStreetMap data in our base maps still, but it's one of the nice things about having a PostGIS database is we can have a layer even in the Esri software environment that's just querying that database with the right expressions and accessors for HStore columns, so that we can feed that layer into Esri's vector tile package or other tools. So we can have vector tile base maps with nice little highway shields like I want to see, and then also have it only show features in and sort of within a couple miles of the county boundary, instead of this global reference data set where our imagery isn't global. So you'd have labels floating in the void. It didn't look good. So now we can put up vector tiles that we feel look nicer, but it's still 100% OpenStreetMap on the back end. We also wanted to add to the locators that we have in our Esri stuff. So we just took everything in our extract that had a name tag and threw it into a point of interest locator, because most people are searching by address or parcel number, but you might want to search by something named. This also turned into an accidental validation tool, because a lot of people will name things like soccer field, bus parking. So by using our map and just searching for generic feature names, we can actually find some of those things by accident and go, oh, I need to edit that in OpenStreetMap. But it's just another example, though, that having that dumped into a database, we can bring that even into the Esri software stack, and it'll play nice with everything, even though it has to be published in this goofy way to show up on our web maps. We can still do it, and we don't have to do endless export, import, edit. We can just have it all pull from this database that's updated with GeoFabric every night. Print maps is a pretty obvious one. We were asked by the Forest Preserve to update some of our trail maps. This isn't the whole map, but it's just kind of a cropped view of it. But they asked us, can we have a new poster for the info board at our Forest Preserves? And we do have the Forest Preserve layers internally, but that department's not really editing or updating that layer. It's not super high quality. We haven't gotten to the point of having them edit OpenStreetMap, but we thought we'll just we'll just add the trails to OpenStreetMap ourselves, all the amenity points, parking, highway areas, all of that, and we'll have a great map. But personally, I do not like when preserves and areas like this have imagery. I don't really need to see what the trees looked like in July of 2018. I just need to see where the trails are and maybe have a rough sense of the land cover. So we wanted to make a vector base map or a vector map for the forest preserves, but we immediately found that neither us nor anyone else had good information for natural features. Where's it woods? Where are the prairies? Where are the farm fields? But obviously, those are all features that can be in OpenStreetMap. So when we got asked to make these print maps, the first thing we would do is just go to that area in OpenStreetMap and map the heck out of it. So, even these roads here, those aren't the linear features, those are highway areas because we wanted it to be really, really detailed. We got the surfaces and all of this stuff. We did bring in our own layers for the contours and some of this texturing from the trees, but otherwise everything else is coming from OpenStreetMap. So now those areas in the map don't look like this big empty space. They have all of this nice texturing, all this detail, and then we update the tagging and the boundaries on the forest preserve themselves, so those become more useful as well. The campus maps, this was an adventure in micro mapping, but we were asked to make some maps for the employee handbooks that just showed, where are the buildings that belong to the county, and where would you park, where are the entrances, things like that. So we, again, once they asked for that, we knew that the features they were mentioning, we didn't have layers for that. We're not going to go and make an entrances point layer in our Esri portal. We're just going to add these things to OpenStreetMap and then query them into Q and make the nice maps that we want. And you can see we've got some nice shrubbery features for all the plantings, and even the little spots in the middle of the parking area. And it's not zoomed in close enough, but those are handicap icons for the disabled parking spaces. So it was a fun one, but also it's just really good detailed data to have. So we want to do more of this, kind of expanding out from our campuses so that more of the map has this kind of information about building names, entrances, parking areas, things like that. Roads. Once upon a time, the county was in charge of the emergency dispatch data, and we still have an internal centerlines layer that the highway department wants for their official annual map. And those layers are not great, but we don't have very much say over the schema or over how things are mapped. So, and I could talk for a long time about how broken the Illinois 911 centerlines data is, but you guys don't need to see me get worked up like that. Needless to say, it's not good. And if we can't tell them how those data sets should be, well, we can at least put our energy into making the data set we're using really, really good. So that's things like lanes, speed limits, traffic signals, all the stuff that make routing really robust. Surfaces, even highway areas, just for cartographic stuff at really large scales. But we were also really interested in operators. One of our primary functions at the county is just maintaining property lines. And so sometimes we run into situations where it would be really nice to know who owns that road, who manages this stretch of highway. And a lot of times we have no idea. And even the different highway departments maybe have no idea. They just say, well, we've been plowing this for 20 years. We're pretty sure it's ours, but we don't actually know. So we took all the information we could actually verify and just mapped out the different operators. So everything that isn't a red dotted line has an operator tag on it in OpenStreetMap. And so we were able to use what we knew and make these maps, and then we could send these maps out to the local highway departments and just ask them, does this look right to you? Do you agree with this? And if there's a dotted line road in your area, do you know if that's in your jurisdiction or not? So that's ongoing. We're waiting on getting more feedback from these departments, but I think we've gotten, I don't know, 3 responses. Megan can chime in if she knows, but we've gotten some responses where people say, "Oh no, that's a private road," or "Yes, we manage that." So we're able to kind of refine these road jurisdictions in the network itself, so we get a better sense of who is in charge of what. Let's see. So we use the OpenStreetMap tasking manager for a lot of things. We really just want to map the heck out of the whole county in excruciating detail. Somebody did tell me once that Plano looks like it's Germany level. I was very flattered, and I want the whole county to be like that. I want the whole county to be Germany level mapped, where it's just every last little thing. But that's a lot, and so we wanted to use the tasking manager to organize those efforts. So this is just a list of the things we've got going right now. The bolded ones at the top, buildings, sidewalks and crossings, those were things that we specifically gave to our interns last summer. And they weren't even their primary tasks, but as they were working on their other projects, they could come and chip away at the tasking manager and just add some stuff to the map. I did give a talk about that. Let's see, can I get this in another tab? I gave another talk about this, but the stats are here at the end. Yeah, in the course of however many weeks they were with us, these 3 guys mapped out 22,800 buildings and 460 miles of sidewalks, in addition to accomplishing all of their other tasks, which was really cool. And honestly, none of them had OpenStreetMap experience prior to that, but it was using the tasking manager, having the instructions, kind of side by side with the ID editor embedded. It was really cool, and it definitely helped onboard them quickly. We do use Map Roulette. So Centennial Farms, this was something where our zoning guy, he said, "Hey, I'd love to see the Centennial Farms on the map." And we were all just like, what even is that? It's a program that the state's Department of Agriculture runs, a farm that's been continuously run by the same family for 100 years or more. They're eligible to apply for this special designation from the state, and we did not have that information anywhere. Nobody did except for the state itself. So we asked if they would share that information. They gave us an Excel spreadsheet, and we were able to geocode that, and then get those points added to OpenStreetMap. And after we did that, we thought, well, these are kind of cool features. These are these historic places that are in the state, and they are signed. They don't look like this. These are just my icons that I made that would be a little simpler to use as point symbols. But they do have signs. If you visited these farms in person, they might be posted, so they're verifiable things. So we asked the state, well, can we have the rest of the information? And so they gave us, I think the geocoder, there were some that were PO boxes because they only had the mailing address. But it was something like 22,000, 23,000 points. And we thought, this is too much. There's no way we're going to get to this anytime soon. It's not urgent, but they are cool features. So we just threw it in Map Roulette, and as interns or staff feel like taking a break from their other stuff, they can just go to it, look at a point, go, yeah, that's a farm, that's where the state said it is, and add these things to the map so that we can just capture some local historic interest, but doing it in OpenStreetMap. Let's see, restaurants. And point of interest updating. This is a big one because points of interest are, they get stale really fast in OpenStreetMap and they're not always very well mapped. But we do a lot of work with our health department. We've kind of built and helped run the system they use for doing restaurant well, not restaurants, but food service establishment inspections. So we have the authoritative layer of what are the licensed establishments in the county, and it's perpetually being updated by that department. So any place that sells, prepares, or serves food, they're on this layer. So obviously this would be really good information to update OpenStreetMap with. We got permission from them to do that, but just figuring out the best way to bring those in and like conflate stuff. I'm still setting that up because I'd like that to just be another map roulette project where it's updating points of interest in the map. But we have this and we're going to use it to make sure that restaurants, schools, grocery stores in OpenStreetMap are, really, really up to date and have information about, operators and when people apply for their permits, we are asking them for their operating hours, their seating capacity, all things that can definitely be tagged. So as we get more data, we're looking to kind of formalize the conversion process from the one to the other and maybe semi-automate it. But that's something we want to do. Working towards. We also got on with Wikidata for a particular project. We had these historic plaques back in 1976, 20, Megan can correct me, 20 plaques were put across the county commemorating different historic things. So here's one, it's a historic millstone plaque. It's not at the site of the first mill, but it's commemorating it. And again, our zoning guy, who's also with the historic preservation folks, he just said, "Hey, we'd love to get these on the map." Like we don't have that information either, but there was a newspaper article from the 70s that listed all 20, roughly where they would be and what they were about. So Megan went on a field trip and tracked these things down. I think 16 or 17 of them could still be found. Took pictures of them and then dropped the points in OpenStreetMap. So then once that was done, us back in the office, we could take that and then take the photo, create a Wikidata entry, put the plaque photo on Wikimedia Commons, and then link that in. And then I am using that new browser plugin to pull in the Wikidata description, which is pretty cool. But anyway, so that's been really nice, and now we have like a good understanding of that workflow of add it to this, create a Wikidata, upload the photo, and bring it all together. And if we find the other plaques, we'll know how to add those. And if we encounter plaques that aren't part of that set of bicentennial things from 76, we can add those a different way. But that was kind of a nice way to capture this item of public and historic interest, but put it somewhere where anyone can get at it instead of just making another points layer internally. Let's see. So the future, we do have stuff that we want to do or are planning on doing. We have this CAMA data, which it's just structures, houses, basically the stuff that goes on a real estate listing. Our township assessors go out and they collect this information about, is it 1-story, 2-story? What's the roof made of? What are the walls made of? When was it built? This is all, some of it is pretty obviously like there's tags for it already. Start date and building levels, materials. So we want to take the CAMA data and kind of conflate that with the building footprints to get that information into the map. And then we have this wild idea. It'll probably never work until a lot of township assessors retire. or they dissolve townships entirely. But we just feel like, I mean, if you had to see the software that they're using to track this stuff internally, it's a nightmare, and an expensive nightmare. And we just thought, like, for a lot of these attributes, they could go in OpenStreetMap. Like, why couldn't you just, I don't know, get one of the mobile apps and just update stuff, take pictures on the go, instead of putting it in these things that look like they were developed in the 90s and just left alone since. But some of these, I don't know. The counts for the different rooms or the square footage, I feel like those would probably depend on having some discussion and consensus before putting that stuff in, because that does maybe cross the line into private information. But at least, the exterior stuff, the things you can observe from the sidewalk, I'd like to get those in, and maybe even get roof shapes, because I'd love to open Kendall County in one of the 3D viewers and have the buildings all look, roughly the right height and roof style, maybe different colors. But we'd really like to get that in, because that is the data set of building attributes in the county. So it'd be cool to put that somewhere where people can use it. I think we do probably need to get permission before we do that too. But I mean, well, anyway. So that's kind of something we'd like to do. I'll get to the questions in a second. Hypothetical stuff. This is something we don't have a particular use for currently, because we don't manage asset inventories. But in May, the Illinois GIS Association is having a small regional conference, and the theme is public works and utilities. And we're not in that space, but we wanted to submit something to talk about. So we're just kind of exploring hypothetically, what would it look like to manage an inventory of assets through OpenStreetMap, particularly using like OSM Go, because that has the survey date on it, and you could just go through and verify, are the benches all at the park? Yes, 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 yes. And while you're there, update the details about the benches, the water fountain, all things that we want mapped in OpenStreetMap. We want the parks to have information about, where are the benches, where are the dog waste bags, where are the trash cans. These are good things to have mapped, but maybe the parks department doesn't have the financial ability to, get a full-blown asset management software, right? Or maybe they don't really care about keeping a historic database of maintenance and inspection logs, because it's just benches. I don't know. But we thought, if you just wanted to track like what's here and what's its condition, what are its qualities, you could do it in OpenStreetMap. So we're gonna kind of do a use case kind of hypothetical situation in May, and talk about that, and maybe give an example of, could you stick an internal tag like ref number on there, and then join it to a separate database, and tie it into some other system, but still manage the spatial stuff in OpenStreetMap. I don't know, but I'm not in public works, so I don't know what it's all like. But I would think if I could just track like the quality of my sidewalks just by walking around with an app that already exists, with a data set that already exists, and to do it in a way that's going to benefit other data users, that's a pretty no-brainer for me. Pretty good deal. But so we're going to see what the reception is on that. People get, especially in our field, people get a little cagey when you talk about, oh, well, anyone can edit it. But we're going to try and sell them on it. Anyway, I think that's pretty much everything. There's other stuff too, I guess, that I didn't mention. Like, we're going to use OpenStreetMap or we do use it for our tax maps, just querying that same OpenStreetMap PostGIS database. So we do have other just one-off map requests where we'll, that's our template where we just pull in all of these standard OpenStreetMap layers and then we go from there.